I'm Amy Lauren, A&R at High Definition Tracks. Today I'm joined by Kid Caird, who's just joined the High Definition family. Finally, hello, how are you?
Hello, indeed. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's nice to chat to you. I think this is the first time we spoke actually like looking at each other.
Yes, actual face to face, but still over computer. But yeah, no, this is the first time we chat. But thank you for having me on.
It's okay. Tell us a little bit about yourself for anybody who might be listening to you or watching you for the first time.
All right. So my name's Michael, or better known as Kid Caird. I'm 25 years old from Perth, Western Australia, but I'm currently living in the UK. I'm all about tech house and a great party. And just, yeah, a great time all around.
That's amazing. When did you move to the UK?
So I moved to the UK. It's just been over a year now, because my now wife lives in the UK. So that was the reason for coming out here, and also to focus really on my music and the music production side of things. So it's been great fun.
Oh, that's sick. How did you meet your wife?
So we met Thailand of all places. Yeah, we met on an island there called Koh Tao. I was DJing at this bar. She was working behind the bar. That's just love on the island where it grew, and we just took it obviously further. And yeah, we've never looked back. It's been amazing.
Oh, I love that. What was it like growing up in Australia?
Hot, definitely hot. A lot of the time. After living there and here, I definitely, we do get much more warmer weather. But, very great party scene. Growing up as a kid, obviously you've got good weather, things to do. Once I got older, turned 18, the nightlife industry in Australia is very huge. There's a lot of diversity, but also, mixed sort of genres, where I've noticed over here in the UK, you've got more sort of nights based on music. So a lot of house music nights and a lot of, garage nights, drum and bass nights. But both industries I've loved growing up. So overall, growing up in Australia has been amazing.
No, that's really cool. Like I've never actually been to Australia yet, but it's on one of my lists to like visit, and definitely
Definitely would recommend.
Quite a while.
Yeah.
Were there other people sort of in the same style as music as you growing up? You said it was quite diverse. Do you mean like most of the clubs were more diverse in their nights rather than like the niche for like one genre?
When I first got into the industry, I used to be a nightclub photographer before I was a DJ and then music producer. I'm a creative human being. I first, love photography. I still love picking up a camera and taking a photo or film every now and then. But back when I first, I guess, joined the industry, which would have been a good 6 to 7 years ago, there were a lot of sort of specific nights per genre. You still do find them around in Perth and all over Australia. But most of all, you do get a lot of nights that they mix sort of all genres into one.
Yeah.
And it sort of gives the best of both worlds, because you've got a mixture of people of crowd that, love all these genres. So they know that they can go to this night or majority of different nights and events, and you can enjoy a wide range of music. And people then don't get bored, and you can experiment with, if you haven't heard of a certain genre, it might get played and people might discover new music. So it works really well for that.
No, that sounds awesome. Question, this is the question I like to ask. Do you have any pets?
I don't have any current pets, no. I did have a dog. She was a Dachshund Corgi Kelpie cross. Her name was Honey. She was beautiful, beautiful dog.
Oh, so I always like to ask about the pets because, obviously I've got producer Reg and that. So.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, pets, I love dogs, love pets. Any animals, yes.
All right, moving off me and animals. How did the lockdown affect you? Especially, whereabouts are you living again? Sorry, in England.
So I'm living down in Cornwall, so very much in the country. And for, I guess, what happened to me was I had been out here for over a year. So when I touched down in the UK, it would have been about 2 or 3 days later. I think it was the second or the third lockdown happened for the UK. And that was one that was like 6 to 8 months long. So, that was over the Christmas, well, November, December, January, February, March, April, and then I think things started opening up in May and June. So over that time, the lockdown, it kind of encouraged me really to focus on music production. You yourself would know, any other music producer, DJ, that's ever tried to dabble within music production knows that there's so much to learn. It obviously can be overwhelming. It takes time, practice, and patience, and you just have to keep going at it. So the lockdown for me, it sort of boosted me to attack things more within the music production side of things. So like sound design, composing, just general songwriting. And, I would then, be like spending hours and hours just learning anything that I could learn, really, whether it was to do with tech house, which is my preferred genre to make, or whether it was, like how to make I don't know, a dubstep drum and bass song. I
Oh,
I would,
really? You really did it?
well, I gave it a go. I don't know how it would really sound to the professionals, but I would sort of go out of my comfort zone for what I was comfortable with, so I could learn how different sort of tracks were made, and then I could see if I could pull any sort of like tips and tricks from that into what I really do want to make, which is obviously tech house.
No, do you know what? That's really interesting. I've not really, like, obviously for me, I sort of go into production. We're trying to like learn and use the time in lockdown to kind of throw myself into it, because it does take time. But that's really good. That's really interesting. Like, you actually really went out your comfort zone to try something completely different. Because I love drum and bass. I don't really play it anymore,
Man.
but
I
yeah.
love drum and bass. I love listening to a cheeky DJ set of drum and bass. Absolutely love it. Who doesn't these days? I remember I watched it was like a YouTube tutorial, and there's thousands of them obviously online, and it's like, okay, here's how you can make this sound, and this is when I'm really into sound design and trying to see what sounds I can make. And there was like this sort of like raw sound where like, it would just be fucking massive when a drop would hit this massive wah growl. Yeah, really. But I sort of followed the way that it was sort of made, but then I add my own twists, my own sort of like, distortion effects on it. So, I sort of created a little bit of Kit Kat flavor to it, if you will.
Yeah.
And I've included it in a couple of my tracks. And, that's where the origin of that sound didn't really come from house or tech house. That was actually a drum and bass track. So I love like those little things.
No, that's really interesting. Like, fair play as well. Like, that's like you said, back to going out your comfort zone again. Like, and it's paying off, because you really do have a sound, and you're absolutely smashing it at the moment.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
What's the scene like in Cornwall? Obviously, I know it's probably hard to ask you because it's been closed, but things opening again. Like, what's it like down there?
So Cornwall,
down there, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So Cornwall was definitely right down south. West, yes, that's right. And look, there is like a little bit of a scene down here. Like Boardmasters is this huge festival which was up in Newquay. That was like about 2 months ago. You do get a bit of drum and bass nights. You do get house music. I've found that a lot of bars nights I've gone to, they are very house music orientated. So I've played a few shows down here. But some things have stayed a little bit more closed. It's honestly just like a nice, beautiful area, lovely beaches. And I think as well, that has been, I guess it's been nice to sort of take breaks from the studio and then, go out lovely walks down to the beach, when it's nice and sunny, not when it's cold, because jumping in that ocean is fucking freezing. Sorry, but it is.
Oh wow. I was actually interested that you say the beaches are nice, because I imagine like Australia the beaches are unreal, so for you to say that they're nice here, then they must be.
They honestly are nice here. Like when I first came out here, I was expecting I think I was expecting like pebble beaches everywhere, because I think Brighton is like, I think famous for pebble beaches and whatnot. I think actually when I was a kid, I first saw like, it was like a Mr. Bean episode, and it was him just like on like pebble beaches. And I just thought that's what UK beaches were all like. So coming over here, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to, go to the beach or whatnot. But literally, if anyone that's been to Cornwall lives in there, or who plans to go down to Cornwall, go to the beaches. They're beautiful, widespread. They just, lovely.
Oh no, I love that. Yeah, the closest beach to me is probably Clacton actually, and that's like full of rocks and it's not very nice. So
Yeah. See, well, my point proven.
exactly. How did you get into music in the first place? You started as a DJ.
Yeah, so started as a DJ before I got into music production. As I said earlier, I was a nightclub photographer before I was into the music, but I always loved my music. So when I was doing my photography, I, would arrive at work, go up behind the DJ, start taking photos of him, and then I would just find myself like watching him or her in awe or like what they're doing. So I wanted
What's
to
that
learn
button
that.
do?
Yeah, literally just like, what does that do? What does that do? Oh, like teach me your ways type thing. So I realized that's what I wanted to do. So I learned to DJ and then I started to do that. And I did that for a good solid, I want to say 3 years. And, I got my name out there really well in Perth, WA. Played so many shows and I sort of wanted to take that next step. And that's, where I started to, do music production. And then, obviously first started music production, wrote a few tracks. I figured out very quickly, it takes time, practice, patience, and, keep going at it, all that sort of stuff. So I was just, with every track, I wanted to just get better. And I'm very big on like, I will always try to make my next track either better or something different from what the last track is to show improvements. Because I like to know where I've started to where I am at now, and then where I would want to keep on going.
Yeah, that's a really good mindset. Because I think sometimes it's quite like you can make something and it's like it can be quite overwhelming, and it's nice that you want to like better and see the progression, whereas sometimes you can spend a lot of time on one thing to be perfect, but it needs to be part of the growth of you as an artist, because obviously sound change and your what your likes like change as well from month in year out. So
yeah, exactly. And like in the obviously the production world, you can spend so much time on just one small element, like trying to get your claps sounding right. You could spend hours and hours on that, and and I do that obviously from time to time, but I like to sort of reflect on where I started to where I am now, and then I will always have goals of like where I want my sort of sound to go, or where I want to see myself go with music production and shows and so forth. So like my first track I ever made, which I made like 2.5, 3 years ago, you could still find on my Spotify and SoundCloud. It sounds like shit and I cannot listen to it, but I keep it there as a reminder, as like, okay, this is where you started. This is where you are now. Like give yourself the benefit of the doubt and some credit.
of course, always give yourself credit. Always give yourself a pat on the back as well, because things move forward all the time and we always keep growing. So it's lovely that you keep it up there.
Absolutely, thank you.
How would you like describe your sound as a DJ producer? Because obviously we'll talk a bit about inspirations like through drum and bass. Would you say it mainly comes from that, or other sounds as well?
So my sort of sound that I am going for and that I love is the best way that I can describe it is just fun, energetic, bouncy, but just sort of fun, really. I like to create, so many cool different elements within my tech house tracks, and I just want them to be cool, fun, energetic, all that sort of stuff. And anytime, so like, as I said, I love listening to drum and bass. I used to be a dubstep and drum and bass DJ. So I like, like the heavier side of things. So I like to think like my bass lines and sort of like growls and things like that, they would be my sort of dubstep and drum and bass influences within my music there. So that's basically the best way that I can describe it. But like me, my motto is literally have fun and, just always enjoy yourself, because what we do is so much fun and enjoyable. And yeah, so that's the best way that I could obviously describe my music. And that's obviously where I want to keep going with it.
No, that's brilliant answer. And it is fun and energetic, and I love it. Do you prefer DJing or producing more?
Oh, that is a tough one. I've obviously been a DJ longer than I have a music producer. I love performing. I love sort of putting on a show and an experience that people obviously won't forget. And I've really enjoyed that in the late, well, not necessarily the last year, because last year has been spent mostly in the lockdown making music and whatnot, but the year before that, I was obviously back home and playing a whole bunch of shows, and that's where I really enjoyed performing. And I was giving off a bit like, you know, sort of like a show, or trying my best to at least. And that's what I really did enjoy that. But in the same breath, I love sitting in front of my laptop or computer and just creating sounds, because I feel like it's a never ending way to expand on your creativity. And as any creative knows, you know, you've got to feed that sort of fuel whenever possible. So I like them equally.
Fair enough, because I like with the producing, obviously I really enjoy, but I feel like for me the end, because I was a DJ first, and I love like performing, if you say, yeah, like trying to put on a performance, and then I feel like it goes full circle, doesn't it, like with making music and then actually being able to deliver it out to people, to see the reaction from them rather than sitting in front of your computer, you reacting and thinking, oh, people are going to react like this. Like, I don't know. When you see it, for me, it's like that's the final end product, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a final product. But exactly, I like your analogy there. Like, it's a full circle. It's like you spent that time making that track there, so then you go and play it out and you see that reaction. That's like obviously like the best feeling possible. So then you're back in front of the computer, you're making the next best thing, and you're doing it again, and then literally all that. So I agree with that. I love that analogy.
Tell us a little bit about where the idea for Feels So Right come from.
So Feels So Right, that was that was a really fun track for me to make, because that was at the time, as I said before, that I was really experimenting with sound design and learning a lot, creating a lot of sounds from scratch, and then just really sort of fucking around with some already existing sounds that I had.
Yeah.
So when I was creating that, I started with the kick and the bass line, and I just wanted to I remember sitting in front of my computer, and I was like, I wanted to make the bass line bouncy, and I wanted to make it up and then down, so people could be like, you know, it's literally a bounce. So that's what I created on, and I feel like I did hit the nail on the head with that bass line. And then when I was going through, you know, trying to find, you know, like vocals, I obviously added the drums in and whatnot and the effects. I really I watched I think it was like this podcast, and people that listen to anything, whether it's an advert, a song, you know, movies and whatnot, people will be more, I can't remember who said it, but they said that people will be more sort of, I guess, listening and more tuned in if they hear sounds that are quite familiar. And I found this actually really fascinating.
That is
And then
interesting.
it is. And when I was watching this, I got a phone call and that ringtone, and that sort of got me thinking. And I'm like, everyone knows their phone, the ringtones, whatnot. So I was like, I'm going to put this theory to the test, because, you know, obviously just learning about it. So I added a whole bunch of like phone ringing effects and whatnot. And then going on that, I found this sort of a sound patch in Serum that was sort of like a ringing synth, which is the main synth that plays out through the track. And I, you know, played around with it for a little bit as well. And I was like, okay, I originally was just going to have it in like the bridges as like, you know, the build up sort of sounds, and then it goes on. But I was like, no, fuck it. Like, let's continue it all the way through, and then just have like the kick go over it, and then bring a clap in, and then, you know, bring all like the tops and the hi-hats in and all that. And then after that, I was like, okay, cool. We've got a good sort of, you know, momentum of this track. And I was like, okay, what's the best way that I could sort of label this track as, you know, with like, if I can get some vocals over it, like, how does it make me feel? And when I found an audio sample, and it was just like, you know, the vocals that's in it now, it says, "You make me feel so right." And I was like, fuck yeah, this makes me feel so right. And I thought that was perfect. So I added it in, and that's a story.
That is honestly, like, that's a really satisfying answer, because, you know, ideas sometimes come in bits and pieces, but that's really interesting. I am drawn, you've said it, like with sounds, especially with the like tracks that are quite popular at the moment are obviously like reused 90s hip hop and R&B vocal sounds that people are familiar with. And you're right, like, without really realizing, I'm actually a bit of a sucker for something I think I obviously subconsciously know. So yeah, because when you first sent it over as a demo, I was like, yeah, we like this. Well, we all did. So, oh wow,
Yeah.
that's really interesting. Thank you. I'm going to take that knowledge on board.
Do it. Yeah, look, I can't remember exactly what the podcast it was that I was listening to, but they were just going on saying like more people like, and it's like subconscious thinking. It's like if you hear, you know, like a ringtone, if you hear like as well police sirens or ambulance sirens, you're always like, oh, okay, you're more sort of in tuned with what's going on. So I just wanted to put, like, when I first learned this, I just wanted to put it to the theory. So I just chucked it in the song, and then you know, I've got that in, you know, quite a couple of songs that I've already written, and I think I will continue that throughout it. Not like obviously over blaring whatnot. It just will be, you know, that faint, subtle sort of sounds as well. Getting creative with it.
Oh no, that's amazing. Thank you for the tip.
That's all good.
What's the next in the pipeline for you? Is it anything you can talk about? Anything up and coming, or is it all under wraps?
So next in the pipeline. So I am actually heading back to Australia in about a week's time. So
wow.
Yes, next time. It's very exciting. So for me, it's just going to be, well, I'm going back into summer. So it's going to be a very busy time of, you know, getting back into shows. And for me, it will be about giving that performance, as I was saying earlier, and actually, you know, playing out my tracks and, you know, getting obviously that crowd reaction. And then in terms of tracks, I've got a few tracks that are going to be signed under some labels. Like I've got a EP release coming out on Pricing Correct, which I've already had a EP release on them. I think that was about 3 months ago. And that will be coming out the new EP will be coming out at the start of next year. I've got a track coming out in about, I want to say 3 weeks on Noid Family, which is an Italian label run by Hyder. So I've got a few, you know, little tracks, you know, in the works and the pipelines. But yeah, that's about it for me.
Oh, lovely. Well, we'll obviously be supporting. You're back to Australia permanently then, are you?
It'll just be for the time being. It will be, you know, 2-3 years, we think. You know, obviously me and my wife will be out there. We'll be coming back out to UK. Hopefully the time that we come out, everything will be completely, you know, obviously open with the no COVID rules and whatnot. And then, you know, it'll be full steam into, you know, performing shows all around the UK. But yeah.
Great. Oh, that's amazing. Well, we'll have to come and visit you, and hopefully everything all normal, like opened back up there now, or is it still a little bit cautious?
Perth WA is doing pretty good with it. The other states, they're slowly but surely getting better and slowly opening up their borders. So things are looking on, I guess, the uprise, which is always a good thing.
Oh, amazing. Well, I can't wait to see all the videos.
Yes, and you definitely will see them. I'll send them to you. I'll be definitely playing a couple of your tracks, and I'll send them straight to you.
Oh, thank you. Where can everybody find you on the socials? Where can they find your music?
Okay, so if you just type in or go on Instagram, you know, Kid Caird, or, you know, Instagram, Facebook, Beatport, Spotify, SoundCloud, you just search Kid Caird, even in Google, it will come up with all my socials there.
Nice and easy.
Yeah, nice and easy there.
Sweet. Thank you so much for coming on. Kid Caird, everybody. Feels So Right. It's out on all platforms. Go and show it some love. And don't forget, life's better in HD. Yay!
Absolutely. Woo!
Thank you so much.